Questions orales, oral questions. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
After 10 years of deficit budgets that are inflationary, they've jacked the price of groceries, and Canadians are hungry, literally hungry, according to the report of Food Banks Canada, a report called Hunger Record or Final Record 2025. The Liberals have made lineups longer and longer at food banks, and people with two jobs or two incomes still can't afford enough food. Will the Liberals finally bring in a budget to make life and groceries affordable? The Honourable Government House Leader.
Oui, nous allons.
Yes, we're going to table a budget to make life affordable and food affordable, and I hope the Leader of the Opposition will support it, Mr. Speaker.
Opposition.
We're not going to support a budget that balloons grocery prices like the last 9 inflationary Liberal budgets. According to Food Banks Canada, there are 100% more people using food banks. And one of them is Jacqueline Stone, a mother in Manitoba, who has 2 jobs but still can't afford food. She works at the grocery store, Mr. Speaker, but she can't afford groceries. What cruel irony. Will the government finally table a budget that's affordable? The Honourable Government House Leader. Well, the opposition leader is promising that woman a Christmas election. So I hope she'll be able to afford a Christmas dinner, because the opposition leader, 6 months after an election, is going to vote in favor of another one. I'm not sure everyone behind him agrees with that, but Mr. Speaker, the government will table a budget next week, and the opposition leader should support it, just like Food Banks Canada, who have supported all of our initiatives to make life more affordable, and the Conservatives voted against them.
After 9 Liberal tax and spend inflationary and costly deficits, Canadians are hungry. Hungry for an affordable budget. Hungry, according to a report by Food Banks Canada called the Hunger Count, which shows that there's been a 100% increase in the number of people relying on food banks since Liberals brought in numerous taxes on food. Will the Prime Minister finally, for the first time, introduce an affordable budget for affordable food and affordable living?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, in fact, someone recently said that there's early signs of progress, including easing housing pressures and new social supports that are offering progress. In fact, this person went on to say that ambitious poverty reduction strategies like affordable housing pilots and the Canadian Dental Care Plan and the National School Food Program are showing early promise. Guess who said that, Mr. Speaker? The CEO of Food Banks Canada.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
If any of that were true, there would not be a 100% increase in the number of people relying on food banks. The numbers speak for themselves, Mr. Speaker, and that's after a decade of Liberal inflationary taxes and deficits that have driven 2.2 million people to the food bank. One of them is Jacqueline Stone. She works 2 jobs. She works at a grocery store, Mr. Speaker. She cannot afford to shop at the grocery store where she works. In her name and in the name of 2.2 million people lined up at food banks, will we finally get an affordable budget for affordable food and affordable living?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
So I just heard the Leader of the Opposition say that the CEO of the Food Bank, Canada Food Bank, actually doesn't know what she's talking about when she wrote the report that they're quoting from. It's really hard to follow, isn't it, Mr. Speaker? But I will say this. It's clear that the member opposite is driving for a Christmas election, and I really hope that's not true, because Canadians are counting on us to pass this budget, to make the school food program permanent, to increase the benefits that Canadians are working on for so hard for, including the announcement yesterday for service support workers.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
They want their budget passed. They have to make it an affordable budget so that there's affordable food and affordable quality of life for the Canadian people, including people like Jacqueline Stone. As I said, she works at a grocery store and can't afford groceries. We already know about carpenters who build homes but can't afford homes after 10 years of Liberals. This is the story she tells. She says, you find yourself going through the grocery store, grabbing what you need, and when you get ready to check out, you pretty much have to do an audit of your cart to see if you can afford everything. Sometimes you have to put things back. It's embarrassing and disheartening. People like her have been working too hard for too long. Will they get an affordable budget?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Children and Youth.
You're here.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives cannot have it both ways. They say Canadians are facing challenges, and yet they dismiss the ways of helping them get through these challenges. The same Food Banks Canada report they cite mentions the Canada Disability Benefit, the Canadian Dental Care Plan, the National School Food Program, the National Housing Strategy as steps taken to address the underlying conditions that contribute to poverty. When it comes time to step up, what did the Conservatives opposite do? They voted against these supports. They will have another opportunity to change their tune and support that budget. Thank you.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, if any of those promises were actually coming true, we wouldn't have a 100% increase in the number of people lined up at Food Bank, a number that has increased again this year after this Prime Minister took office promising that he would be judged by the prices at the grocery store. 700,000 kids, a record number, are lined up at food banks while they make phony promises that they never keep on the Liberal side of the aisle. Every dollar the government spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians who can't pay any more. The more Liberals spend, the more things cost. Will they finally bring forward an affordable budget for affordable food so Canadians can have an affordable life?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Family.
Mr. Speaker, so either the member opposite, the leader of the Conservative Party, wants a Christmas election, or he wants to deny what's in that actual report, which is to take action to make programs that are making Canadians' lives more affordable, stronger, permanent, and more generous, which is what we've done, Mr. Speaker. That's what we're doing, and we're going to continue to do it. In fact, what the CEO has said is that we're on the right track. We have to continue to move forward, and we really hope they don't vote against these things again.
L'Honorable.
The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, Canada, including Quebec, is entering one of the worst trade crises we've ever experienced. The Prime Minister has given everything up for nothing in exchange, and now, literally, there's a full-fledged squabble with the U.S. President. I'd like to know, and people need to know, what the government intends to do to restore decent relations with the U.S. The Honourable Minister responsible for Canada-U.S. trade. Mr. Speaker, our colleague knows full well that our government is always willing to sit down and cooperate with the American government, with the ministers in Trump's government, and to negotiate what's in the interest of Canadian industries and workers. We are always available. The Prime Minister has said that repeatedly, Mr. Speaker. But meanwhile, we're not going to sit around and wait. We're going to make sure we protect Canadian industries, that we build a strong economy here in Canada, and that we invest in all necessary industries. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly.
Malgré les promesses.
Despite the promises and claims, the humble claims by the Prime Minister during the election campaign, things haven't gotten any better. They've gotten worse. With the tariffs on trucks and autos, 45% in tariffs and countervailing duties on forestry, on steel and aluminum, 50% tariffs. What do you have to say to the workers and to vulnerable consumers and investors who are being told nothing's going to change for a long time to well into 2026? The Honourable Minister.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, what we're saying to investors who are looking at the Canadian economy, what are we going to say to workers in Canada who are obviously concerned about tariffs? We're going to say that the government is there. We're there to support them, to invest, to take steps to get major projects underway, to support industries affected by customs duties and tariffs. But we also are always ready to negotiate with the U.S. to put ourselves in a better economic position. The honourable member for Belleuil-Chambly. Are we supposed to wait until the U.S. is in a better mood to talk? Meanwhile, there's inflation, recession, companies, plants closing down. There's nothing being done to make sure that Canada and the provinces speak from the same songbook. They're doing nothing about the loss in purchasing power. When is this government going to admit failure and cooperate so that we have at least a tiny chance of pulling something off? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, the Bloc Leader knows full well that our government has always cooperated with our counterparts in the provinces and territories, with the captains of industry and with worker representatives. I'll be in Montreal this weekend to meet with Minister Fréchette to speak specifically about what can be done together, what more can be done to support Quebec industries and Quebec workers and all across Canada.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The main promise that the Prime Minister was elected on was to negotiate a victory with the Americans. He promised a deal by July 21st. And now there's no deal, there's no victory, and U.S. tariffs have doubled since the Prime Minister promised to get rid of them. And he's blaming a Government of Ontario ad for the lack of a deal. Yes or no? Had the Prime Minister or his staff seen the ad before it ran? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, the opposition leader knows full well that this government will not accept any old deal. We have clearly said that we will negotiate a deal with the U.S. government if it's in the interests of Canadian workers and industries. Canadians know full well that the opposition leader would have accepted any old deal. That's not Canada's position. We need to support Canadian industries and workers at the same time.
The signature promise on which the Prime Minister was elected was to, quote unquote, negotiate a win with the Americans, to get a deal by July 21st. And here we are, late October, still no deal, still no win, still no elbows, still no jobs, and American tariffs have doubled since the Prime Minister promised he would get rid of them. Yesterday, his latest excuse was that an Ontario government ad prevented him from keeping his promise. So, yes or no? Did the Prime Minister or his staff see the ad before it went out?
Yes. The Honourable Minister responsible for Canada-US trade.
Mr. Speaker, I'll repeat the answer I just gave to the Leader of the Opposition in French, because he asked the same question in English. Our government, Mr. Speaker, was elected to negotiate an agreement with the United States that's in the interests of Canadian workers and the Canadian industries. Unlike the Leader of the Opposition, Mr. Speaker, we're not going to sign whatever agreement the Americans might suggest. We're going to sign an agreement that benefits Canadian workers and the Canadian economy. And at the same time, Mr. Speaker, we're going to build in Canada, we're going to invest in Canada, and we're going to support Canadian workers and Canadian business.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The Prime Minister promised that he'd have a good deal by July 21st. That date has come and gone. And his latest excuse is an ad from the Government of Ontario. He claims that's why he couldn't keep his promise and get a deal. So, yes or no? Did the Prime Minister see the ad before it went out?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as I said a moment ago, our government is committed to working with all partners in our federation, to work with premiers in every part of the country, to work with union leaders and business leaders, to support the Canadian economy and Canadian workers, and to negotiate with the Americans for a deal that's in the interests of Canada. That's been the government position from the beginning. I'm proud of the work that we've done with all the premiers and businesses and union leaders across the country.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Speaker, it's the Prime Minister who has said that the ad prevented him from keeping his promise and getting a deal. He claims he was on the verge of getting that deal. So surely if he saw an ad that would interrupt the deal, he would have said no and hit the brakes. So the question is, yes or no? Did the Prime Minister or anyone on his staff see the ad before it went out? Yes or no?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, our government is committed to doing the serious work necessary to get a deal with the United States and to build a strong, resilient Canadian economy. That was the commitment we made to Canadians in the election. That was an election that the Leader of the Opposition lost because people didn't believe he would be serious in either supporting Canadian workers, Canadian businesses, or standing up to the Americans for a deal that's in the interest of all Canadians.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Being serious means being honest and telling Canadians. Did the Prime Minister
The member can continue, and we'll get a few extra seconds to make up for the interruption.
being honest is a joke to these Liberals, Mr. Speaker.
There can't be too many interruptions because I can't afford that much time, but the member could continue.
Did the Prime Minister or his staff see the ad before it went out? Yes or no?
The Honourable Minister responsible for Canada-US trade.
Mr. Speaker, I can imagine the frustration that the Leader of the Opposition feels when he sees a Prime Minister elected to take this serious economic and sovereignty challenge with all of the seriousness it deserves. That's why Canadians thought the Leader of the Opposition wasn't up to that task. That's why Canadians chose a Prime Minister who takes serious issues seriously, who will defend Canadian workers and Canadian businesses and stand up for the right deal for Canada.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The Prime Minister says the reason he doesn't have a deal is because of an ad. Did he or his staff see the ad before it went out? Yes or no?
The Honourable Minister.
Again, Mr. Speaker, I can understand the Leader of the Opposition may be frustrated for a whole series of reasons. He's got a caucus meeting coming up this week. He may be very concerned about that as well. Mr. Speaker, what I can tell the Leader of the Opposition and all colleagues in the House is the Prime Minister is committed to doing the difficult, serious work necessary to build the strongest economy in the G7. That starts by supporting Canadian workers, building big in Canada again, and doing everything necessary to get the deal with the Americans that will be in the interest of Canadian workers and Canadian business.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, there are 100,000 more Canadian workers out of a job since the Prime Minister promised to protect their jobs. He says that they're going to get the best economy in the G7. It's the fastest shrinking economy in the G7. I met with auto workers in Windsor over the weekend who are terrified that the Prime Minister's failures are going to cost them their jobs. He looked those workers in the eyes and he said he would have a good deal by July 21st, and he broke his promise. Now he's blaming an ad. He has a duty to say whether or not he saw the ad that he says blew up the so-called deal he had. So will he do the honest thing and answer the question, did he see the ad, or is it actually his incompetence?
The Honourable Minister responsible for Canada-US trade.
Mr. Speaker, just because the Leader of the Opposition keeps asserting the same fake premise doesn't make it real. What is real, Mr. Speaker, is the government of Canada can control certain things. We can control investments that we make in partnership with Canadian businesses and Canadian workers to build a strong economy here. We can work with provinces and territories, as we're proud to do, to defend the Canadian economy and to work with the United States to get an agreement that will be in the interests of Canada, something the Leader of the Opposition will never get a chance to do.
The honourable member for Mirabel. Mr. Speaker, the cat's out of the bag. Yesterday, the Liberal leader openly threatened to call an election by Christmas if his budget doesn't pass as is. After zero pre-budget consultations, zero witnesses heard in committee, and zero requests from the opposition entertained, the Liberals are already resorting to blackmail instead of trying to find common ground. Mr. Speaker, Quebecers elected a minority government. Minority means working with the other parties. Why don't the Liberals get down to work instead of threatening elections? The Honourable Government House Leader. Since the member opposite has done me the honor of quoting me, I'm going to give him a little math lesson. The fact is we are a minority government, but we estimate that there are enough votes to give us a mandate to table a budget and propose an economic plan to Canadians. And that includes entering into trade deals with the U.S. Canadians gave us that mandate. The only question is which opposition party is going to opt to send Canadians back to the polls at Christmas. The honourable member for Mirabel. Mr. Speaker, when the Prime Minister with this mathematician across the way, when he said he was reaching out to the opposition, we thought it was to work together, not slap us around. And yet that promise has been broken with the threat of elections. You might say this isn't his only broken promise. He also promised to protect us from Trump. But unlike talks with Trump, the Prime Minister has complete control over budget talks. Mr. Speaker, there are crises in healthcare, quality of life for seniors, housing and home ownership, outdated infrastructure, and so on. Why not work together to resolve these crises instead of threatening elections? The Honourable Minister of Canadian Culture and Identity. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to reassure my honourable and friendly colleague that there's no slapping going on this side of the House. The Prime Minister met with the Bloc leader. The House leader met with the Bloc members. I myself have met with Bloc members to hear their demands for the budget. In the budget, there will be steps around affordability and housing. The Bloc has had their say on how we can help Canadians. The honourable member for Charlebourg, Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, according to Moisson Québec, over 84,000 people are supported each month by their network. This represents a 30% increase since 2022. In addition, a study by Aviseo for Quebec food banks shows that food insecurity is becoming entrenched and the need is here to stay. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister is asking Quebecers to make sacrifices, knowing he won't have to make any himself. Since coming to power, he's done absolutely nothing to reduce the cost of living. When will the Liberals understand that their inflationary deficits are driving up the cost of food and pushing Canadians into the food banks? The Honourable Minister of Canadian Culture and Identity. When the member asks that kind of question, I wonder whether he even read the Food Banks Canada report. And I'll quote from it. In order to improve affordability, they call on the government to boost the benefits for disabled Canadians. The Conservative Party voted against that. Implementing a national food school program, one of the Conservatives called that garbage. And also to create a national housing strategy, they said they were going to vote against that. There's a lot of hypocrisy on the other side of the House. The honourable member for Charlesbourg, Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, we will not be lectured by that side of the House. Here on this side of the House, we're opposed to the inflationary measures of the Liberals. Inflation is going up because of government spending. It's been out of control for 10 years. Will the Prime Minister agree to stop the inflationary spending in order to help Canadians? The Honourable Government House Leader. Of all the things that the Conservatives have said over and over again, the one that confuses me the most is inflationary spending. What is inflationary spending? Is it pensions? Is it health care? Is it spending to support young people and jobs? Is it the major projects? Which of those is inflationary spending? Once and for all, could the member clear up any doubt around what they mean by inflationary spending?
The honourable member for Kildonan St. Paul.
Mr. Speaker, Jacqueline Stone is a mom from Manitoba, from Landmark, Manitoba. She's working 2 jobs. One as a bus driver and one at the grocery store, and yet she can't afford to feed her own family and lost her home because of rising interest rates. She said, you find yourself going to the grocery store, grabbing what you need, then doing an audit of your cart to see what you can afford, and sometimes having to put things back. It's embarrassing, she said. Mr. Speaker, the only people that should be embarrassed are the Liberals, because after 10 years in power, this is how expensive it's become to live in Canada. The reckless deficit spending has created Canada's inflation problem. When will it end so that Canadians like Jacqueline can afford to live?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Children and Youth.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives opposite should listen to Canadians who are on the front lines and who are working in favour of making the school food program permanent. The Coalition for Healthy School Food called the program a generationally important decision that will change the future of Canadian society and the health and well-being of children. Children First Canada said this isn't about just food, it's about dignity, learning, and equity. And the Ontario Public School Boards Association said it will strengthen student well-being and success. These are Canadians on the front lines fighting food insecurity in our communities. I would encourage us all to support the budget that will make the National School Food Program permanent. Thank you.
The honourable member for Kildonan St. Paul.
Speaker, I don't think Liberals understand the state of Canada after 10 years of their government. Ms. Stone lost her home because mortgage rates skyrocketed as a result of rising interest rates caused by their massive Liberal deficits. She works at a grocery store and yet can't afford the food at the grocery store. In fact, over 2 million Canadians use food banks in a single month this year. 1 in 5 are employed. 1/3 are children. Mr. Speaker, is this what the Liberals envisioned after 10 years in power, that millions of Canadians would be struggling to afford food? They owe Canadians an explanation. How is this possible in Canada in 2025?
The Honourable Minister for Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, the hypocrisy from Conservatives is staggering. It's unbelievable to hear this kind of outrage from Conservatives who voted against and fought against all of the affordability programs. First and foremost, housing affordability, which they've shown no support for decades. We are focused on delivering, and we're seeing results. Average rents are coming down, home prices are coming down, mortgage rates are coming down. That's affordability, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Moose Jaw Lake Centre, Lanigan.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians want dignity and to be able to feed their families without relying on food banks. Under this Liberal government, they can't. Food Banks Canada reports 2.2 million visits in a single month. The food bank in Moose Jaw is helping out twice as many people as they were 2 years ago. Families don't want handouts. They want their paychecks to go further so they can buy their own groceries. When will this Prime Minister stop forcing working families into food lines and start reining in their out-of-control spending so that their parents can actually afford to feed their families.
The Honourable Secretary of State for Labour.
Speaker, the Conservatives voted no to dental care, no to the National School Food Program, no to the Canada Child Benefit, and no to a tax cut that helped 22 million Canadians. Our government brought in these measures to make life more affordable for Canadians, to help families, support workers, build a stronger Canada. But there's good news, Mr. Speaker. There's good news. On November 4th, the Conservative Party will have another chance. A chance to say yes to Canadians and yes to measures that make a real difference in people's lives. Mr. Speaker, will they stand with Canadians or will they continue to stand in the way?
The Honourable Member for Hamilton West, Ancaster Dundas.
In another display of arrogance and ignorance, the Conservative leader claimed that the National School Food Program is just bureaucracy. And another Conservative said that feeding hungry kids was garbage. In my riding, this program is already making a real difference, and educators say it's one of the best ways to help kids succeed. How will the Secretary of State for Children and Youth respond to this deplorable Conservative misinformation?
Good question.
The Honourable Secretary of State for Children and Youth.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to thank my colleague, the member from the City of Hamilton, for his question. Conservative MPs really ought to listen to the folks on the ground fighting food insecurity, like the Breakfast Club, the Coalition of Healthy School Food, the Canadian Teachers Federation, who have all called for the making of the National School Food Program to be permanent because of the positive impact it has on children. With federal funding, 9.8 million more meals will be served to children across Ontario alone, representing $800 in savings on groceries for families. Mr. Speaker, we will protect and strengthen the supports that help ensure children have the best start in life right across this country.
The Honourable Member for Prince George, Peace River, Northern Rockies.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister promised he would negotiate a win with the United States. For British Columbia, that means negotiating a softwood lumber agreement. In response to the collapse of trade negotiations on Friday, the Prime Minister failed to even mention softwood. Since he took office, softwood tariffs tripled, going from 14% to 45%. Just yesterday, Sinclair Forest Products reduced its production by 40% in 3 of their mills in northern BC. 350 mill workers are affected by the cuts. When will this Prime Minister finally stand up for forestry workers?
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, as someone who grew up in a forestry town in northern Vancouver Island, I understand the issue.
That's right.
The softwood lumber is the lifeblood of the small forestry communities in this country. We are talking with the premiers. We are working together. We've been very clear the U.S. tariffs on Canadian softwood lumber are absolutely unjustified, and we are working very hard to resolve this.
The Honourable Member for Prince George, Peace River, Northern Rockies.
BC forestry workers that I know don't want handouts, they want their good-paying jobs back.
Hear, hear.
BC Council of Forest Industries President and CEO Kim Hackstead said last week, the recent increase in U.S. tariffs and duties is a serious blow to an industry already strained by years of uncertainty, mill closures, and job losses. The federal government must make resolving the softwood lumber dispute a national priority. When will the Prime Minister finally stand up for BC forest workers?
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, that's why we've put together a $700 million liquidity package. That's why we put together a $500 million retooling fund. That's why we're meeting with the premiers to work on this every single day. This industry has been unfairly and unjustly treated by the Americans. We will work hard to fix that.
The Honourable Member for Kenora, Kiiwetinoong.
The Prime Minister promised he would negotiate a win with the United States, but he's broken that promise when it comes to softwood lumber.
That's right.
Softwood tariffs were at 14% when he took office, then they jumped to 35%, and they're now 45%, Mr. Speaker. This Prime Minister has sold out our workers as softwood tariffs have tripled. Now the Ear Falls sawmill is facing an indefinite shutdown affecting hundreds of workers and devastating the entire community.
Sad.
Yet the Liberals have not lifted a finger to provide any support. So, Mr. Speaker, will this Prime Minister stop selling out Canadian workers?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, $50 million in EI support is not nothing. $700 million in liquidity support is not nothing. $500 million in retooling support is not nothing. Mr. Speaker, we are working hard to solve this problem for the Canadian workers.
The Honourable Member for Similkameen, South Okanagan, West Kootenay.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister promised that he would negotiate a win with the United States by July 21st. He has broken that promise, leaving softwood lumber workers out of work and out in the cold. When he took office, softwood tariffs were at 14%, and now they're at 45%. And the Prime Minister didn't even mention our mill workers in Washington. Workers in Grand Forks are worried about their mortgages, their neighbors, and how they're going to afford their next meal. When will the Prime Minister stop selling out our lumber workers and finally get the deal that he promised them?
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, as I said, we have been clear the U.S. tariffs on Canadian softwood lumber are absolutely unjustified. We are working at every level to resolve this. The $50 million in EI support, the $700 million in liquidity support, the $500 million in retooling. We are working very hard to solve this issue, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Miramichi Grand Lake.
Mr. Speaker, this Prime Minister promised Canadians he would negotiate a win with the United States. When this Prime Minister took office, softwood lumber tariffs were at 14%. Then they climbed to 35%. Now, they are at 45%. Because of his failures, mills have closed their doors and forestry towns are paying the price. In Miramichi, we have seen mills closures at Arbec Forest Products just because this Prime Minister can't close the deal. When will this Prime Minister put his big boy pants on and finally stand up for Canada's forest industry?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Industry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The people of Miramichi, the people of Bathurst, the people of Chipman, Minto, Madawaska, all through northwest, northeastern New Brunswick know that softwood lumber industry is a key part of our economic future. But the tariffs are putting our workers and businesses in jeopardy. That's why we put real solutions on the table. $700 million in support through the Business Development Bank. $500 million for retooling, $50 million for worker supports.
That's right.
That's alongside the Strategic Research Fund, Response Fund that helps our businesses pivot and adapt. This is the kind of support we need in New Brunswick and across Canada.
The Honourable Member for Chicoutimi-Le Mr. Speaker, when the Prime Minister came to power, American tariffs on softwood lumber were 14%. Then they went up to 35%. And now they're at 45%. And don't forget, there's 10% more that might be in the pipeline. In Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean, that's $910 million in salaries for our workers. Not only the Prime Minister hasn't managed to negotiate an agreement, but tariffs have tripled since he came to power. Why is the Prime Minister abandoning forest workers and their families?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Industry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We know that softwood lumber builds our country through construction and other uses across Quebec and across New Brunswick and BC, but we also know that tariffs are putting our workers and our businesses at risk, and that is why we have solutions. $500 million for businesses, $500 million for business development, and more money for EI support. These measures are on top of the strategic fund that is helping our businesses adapt and innovate. We are there for our sector. The Honourable Member for Beauce. Mr. Speaker, the forestry sector is being attacked by American tariffs that are now at 45%. The failure of this Liberal government's negotiations with the Americans is putting thousands of forestry jobs in danger in Canada. In Chaudière-Appalaches, the forestry sector represents $780 million in salaries, and that's threatened. Mr. Speaker, my question is very simple. Will the Liberal government finally stop working just for big cities and work for rural Canadians? The Honourable Minister of Canadian Identity and Culture. Last Friday, I was with my colleague from the Pays d'en Haut to meet with one of these businesses to talk with them about the measures that the federal government has put in place. $710 million in cash through the Canada Development Bank, $500 million to modernize businesses. We are working with the sector. We will be there for the softwood lumber sector, Mr. Speaker. I understand this issue. We will be there for the workers. We will be there for the communities.
The honourable member for Kamloops, Thompson Nicola.
Mr. Speaker, I drafted Conservative Private Members Bill, Bill C-225. This is known as Bailey's Law and is the most dramatic bill to address intimate partner violence in Canadian history. Bailey's family here, Trish, Debbie, are present in Ottawa and they are watching. Mr. Speaker, they want to know, victims want to know, will the Liberals back Bill C-225, yes or no?
Show some respect, please.
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, the member raises a very important concern that Canadians have and our government shares. We've always stood up against gender-based violence, Mr. Speaker. We currently have a bill in the House, Bill C-9, that addresses femicide and makes it a first-degree a conditional first-degree crime in that bill, Mr. Speaker. We're also making bail harder to obtain for those accused of sexual offences, including those involving choking, suffocation, and strangulation. We're also going to be bringing a gender-based violence bill later on this year, Mr. Speaker, so we're working on all fronts.
The honourable member for Kamloops, Thompson Nicola.
Mr. Speaker, these Liberals tell us all they're doing in Bill C-14. They could be doing more by passing Bill C-225. Mr. Speaker, I spoke with Flo Bellman and Paul Henderson. Their daughter, Darian, was killed by her intimate partner. They support this bill. Trish and Debbie support this bill. NDP Premier David Eby supports this bill. I see that minister is wearing a button. Why doesn't she swap that button for a purple ribbon and get behind this bill, let the family know, ditch the button, get the ribbon, and support this bill? Yes or no?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, it's not about buttons or ribbons. Of course, my button is about supporting the RCMP, and I support law enforcement across this country that often has to address a lot of these situations. It's important, Mr. Speaker, that we take important measures and steps to fight gender-based violence in our country, and we're doing exactly that. We have a bill in this House right now. We're bringing a very comprehensive bill in the coming weeks on gender-based violence, and I'd love to work with the member opposite to address this issue, this very serious issue, in the best way possible.
The Honourable Member for Honoré-Mercier. Mr. Speaker, when I was at high school in Northern Ontario, the school breakfast program helped me very often. It's not easy to say, but that program really helped me to get through school and succeed. These programs change lives, Mr. Speaker. They are not, as the opposition calls them, garbage. Can the Secretary of State tell us how many children have already benefited from the National School Food Program? The Honourable Secretary of State for Children and Youth. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the member for Honoré-Mercier for his question. In Quebec, we are offering funding of $65 million to support the school food program in that province. It helps more than 700,000 kids in over 2,000 schools, and our support allows families to save $800 on groceries every year. Mr. Speaker, this program isn't garbage. We are delivering for the well-being of kids across the country.
Member for Foothills.
Chinese tariffs on Canadian canola are punishing farmers and driving up food costs for Canadians. Almost 6 million tons of canola is being blocked from China, and yet the Prime Minister and the Agriculture Minister have not met with their Chinese counterparts. In fact, at committee, the Agriculture Minister admitted that he hasn't even discussed the tariffs with his Beijing counterpart. While farmers are being punished by these tariffs, the Liberals are standing on the sidelines. Will the Prime Minister, when he meets with his Chinese counterpart this week, fight for farmers get tariff reductions, or will he come back empty-handed yet again?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Agriculture. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. One thing that we can be proud of is our canola producers because they are making the best canola in the world. China is putting absolutely unjustified tariffs on our producers. Yes, the Prime Minister and the Minister of Agriculture are in Asia right now. They are looking at new markets for our producers, but they will also try to fix this trade dispute. But that's not it, Mr. Speaker. We are there to support our producers in the meantime with the Canadian biofuel markets. We are also supporting producers with...
The Honourable Member for Foothills.
They should be supporting Canadian producers by getting those markets back. When the tariffs were put on Canadian canola, the Prime Minister promised he'd have high-level engagement. It's been 8 months, no engagement, and the tariffs from China have actually increased. Right. And it's not just canola. Peas, pork, seafood are all facing Chinese tariffs. Canadian beef has been blocked from China since 2021. Farm families are literally paying for Liberal inaction. Yeah. Farmers deserve to be a priority. When the Prime Minister meets with the Chinese President, will he get reductions on these tariffs, or will he come home empty-handed yet again?
The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, it's completely false to claim that this government is not advancing the interests of Canadian farmers and Canadian agriculture. When I was in the Indo-Pacific just 10 days ago, I raised the issues relating to agriculture with my Chinese and Indian counterparts. Let me assure this House that at all times we are advancing the interests of our farmers, and let me assure this House that the minister responsible is in the region at the time doing just that, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Swift Current Grasslands, Kindersley.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the minister isn't even meeting with his counterparts on his trip, and he's proving to be as ineffective as his predecessor. Harvest on the prairies is coming to an end, and Canadian farmers are still enduring tariffs on canola and pulse products imposed by China. Exports of these crops to China have halted, and they need relief while the government is slow to act. Ahead of a meeting with the President of China, the Prime Minister says things will take time. Meanwhile, farmers' bins are full, and there's no new markets for them to go to. With food prices skyrocketing and farm profitability dropping, Canadians want to know, is the Prime Minister getting a deal done, or will he come home empty-handed yet again?
The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, let me reiterate, when I was in the Indo-Pacific, I reiterated the interests of Canadian farmers and the agricultural sector writ large on canola, on agricultural products, as well as on seafood and other items. Let me also reiterate that we will seek to diversify supply chains for Canadian industry across the board with countries outside and inside the region so as to grow this economy and make it the strongest in the G7.
The Honourable Member for Hamilton Centre.
Mr. Speaker, skilled trade workers are essential to building the homes, infrastructure and economy that Canadians rely on every day. Unions play a critical role in training the next generation of tradespeople and helping to address persistent labour shortages. Can the Secretary of State for Labour tell this House how Budget 2025 is supporting union-based apprenticeship training and helping more Canadians building rewarding, high-paying careers in the skilled trades? Thank you.
Honourable Secretary of State for Labour.
Mr. Speaker, the BC building trades are in town, and their message is clear. It's time to build, and we agree with them. We're investing in major infrastructure projects across the country. We're building more homes, but none of that happens without the people who are going to do the building. That's why through Budget 2025, we're doubling the Union Training Innovation Program, strengthening the Red Seal trades, and creating more opportunities for apprentices. Mr. Speaker, this is about investing in people, investing in our workers, because when we invest in our union workers, we invest in Canada's futures. I hope the other parties join us in voting for the budget on November 4th.
The Honourable Member for Bellechasse, Les Etchemins, Lévis. Mr. Speaker, Quebec has already noted its 15th feminicide since the beginning of the year. We learned this morning that since 2015, the number of women who are victims of conjugal violence has gone up by 39% across Canada. Bailey McCord died because the system didn't protect her. Gabby Renault died because the system protects criminals more than it protects victims. Their families are asking for more protection and less lax sentencing. The Conservatives are listening to victims and are proposing concrete solutions like Bill C-225. Will the Liberal government finally listen to Conservatives and keep dangerous criminals in prison instead of sending them home? The Honourable Secretary of State. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This isn't the first time that I rise in the House because the situation facing women who are victims of feminicide affects all of us across Canada. I'm very well aware of this. But what's important is that we have an integrated, wide-ranging approach, and there are already bills that we have tabled which will allow us to act. So we think that we need to support the overall structure, and that is how we are going to support the Canadian system, which will prevent violence against women.
The honourable member for Vancouver East.
Housing cost is the biggest contributing factor to the affordability crisis. Notwithstanding the promise of Build Canada homes, new homes won't materialize until years from now, and there would be no federal subsidies to ensure affordability. Renters is in a crisis now. Corporate landlords are hiking rent far beyond inflation, and ordinary Canadians are being forced out of their homes. Housing profiteers are jacking up rent by 30, 40, even 50%. National vacancy control legislation would stop this gouging cold. Will the Prime Minister bring back a national vacancy control like the one we used to have before the war to protect?
The Honourable Minister for Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thanks to the member for the question. This government is very focused on affordable housing, and in particular, non-market rental housing, starting with $1 billion that, with the support of this House on the budget, we can dedicate to transitional supportive housing for people who are homeless, people who are in shelters, get them into transitional homes with supports, they can move into permanent housing. And we're focused on tens of thousands of units of affordable rental housing that we want to build across this country. We count on the members' support in this House to do that. Thank you.
The honourable member for Nunavut.
Residents are protesting high grocery prices. In Cambridge Bay, even with a subsidy of $7.39, 12 bruised oranges cost $26.76. No one can afford these prices. The Northwest Company is profiting from our tax dollars while Inuit families are going hungry. Will the minister accelerate the Nutrition North review so Inuit families can finally afford food?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to my colleague for the question. Our government is promised to overhaul Nutrition North, and work is moving ahead. We're expanding beyond retail subsidies by co-developing support for local harvesters and community food programs. Over 5,500 harvesters have received fuel, gear, and safety support, and dozens of community freezers and sharing programs are running across the north. In the Northwest Territories, a managed reindeer herd supplies hospitals and community feasts, keeping country food moving year-round. That's how we're delivering food security and affordability, led by the North and built to last, and we'll continue to work with our partners. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Comme il est 15 heures.
As it is 3:11 p.m., the House will now move to the deferred recorded division on the amendment of Mr.